The NBA trade deadline has come and gone, and now it's time that we all deal with the ramifications. We're going to deal with it as best we can today. Guys like Jonas Valanciunas making their debut. We're going to talk about it here. Of course, we're going to do what we always do on this channel here at Splash Play NBA. We're going to look at my projections compared to one of the industry leaders out there in Stokastic. We'll also run some DFS sims, look at ownership along the way. I'm messing up the order entirely. Of course, at the halfway point of the video, we're check out our friends at Unabated. Of course, their $30 off promo code SPLASH at unabated.com/NBA. We're going to get some best bets from them. By the end of this video, guys, you'll know the must plays for today, February 6th, 2025. Let's get into it here. No Q-tag tweet today from Underdog, presumably because there aren't a lot of Q-tag guys that matter. Did write up today, though, from the DraftKings Network, or for the DraftKings Network. Unabated's data for Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, two guys were questionable today. If they are both out, that matters a whole lot for the slate because basically, if you have those guys out and Russell Westbrook, we saw just yesterday, Nikola Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. putting up about 70 fantasy points each in a spot where those guys are active. Those guys are inactive. Things are getting a little bit wild for those two and Christian Brown to a lesser extent. But one to watch out for today, despite a tough matchup versus the Magic. Shout out to the chat here. We got a boring ad deadline. I don't agree with that. I think if you look at just the deadline itself like that, the 2 p.m., whatever, 3 p.m. time window it was, like that part wasn't the most exciting. You still got, Marcus Smart sneaking across the finish line there. Some little weird trades. But you look at the deadline overall, like you got some pretty big moves. You didn't see Kevin Durant move. He blocked it. Didn't see Beal move, but you saw Wiggins go to Miami. It's going to be a big thing that matters for today's slate. I frankly, and I know my pal Josh Engelman just didn't love it too much on his shows today. Watched a lot of his trade deadline show on Stokastic, of course, because he does a great job with it every year. Mark Williams trade is huge. Like that's exactly the kind of guy they need. And people are going to point to some of the advanced analytics, some plus minus stuff. Like no shit, Mark Williams hasn't been that good on the Hornets where nobody's good in terms of the kind of winning metric stuff. He's been reducing, blocks, rebounds, and the putback stuff, the alley-oop kind of lob stuff that they could do now as a result of having him is so huge. So you have two guys in Jackson Hayes and Mark Williams that for the Lakers just going to be able to get open at the rim over and over again, get fed assists by Luka and LeBron. And Luka apparently asked for another rim runner there because he felt like Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively opened up what he does best. Lakers really the biggest winners by far. I'm not like a Lakers sycophant, despite obviously loving LA and having been there for so many years. Very close, in fact, the Staples Center or the crypto arena, whatever. Really, I love the Lakers did, and I think winning a championship might be hard, but they're set to be in a good spot for the next few years. Mark Williams is super young, and you guys know on this show I have Kate for Mark Williams so hard. I think we're ready to see him become like a real player now, so we'll see that. Slate's pretty interesting. Like building out lines so far. Hopefully no insane news for lock. We will see about that. Obviously, the trade stuff is done at the very least. To make a chess analogy, mostly pawns were moved today. Yes, mostly pawns moved today, but I think a fair amount of pieces that were pretty important moved overall. And we'll see what happens. Seems like Milwaukee, frankly, I don't love the moves. Some other ones out there, like the Lakers, I absolutely love everything they did. Dallas, somewhere in between. We'll see how it goes. Defense is going to be bad. Mark Williams can be a game changer at center. They just have to coach him up. He's young. He has to be coached into a winning player, but he's got the raw fundamentals to be like a beast in this league. I'm excited to see what they do. But anyway, the defense will not be good at the key points of attack, though, for sure. But you hope you have enough, 3-and-D guy-ish players out there. Your DPJs, I don't know, or not. Yeah, not DPJ. But you have your guys, the other one. The one looking blanking on names now. Lakers have some guys out there that you can do some stuff with. So that's that. Anyway, back to this slate. Nikola Jokic. We got 43% ownership for me. So another big stand on Jokic. Same thing as yesterday. Yes, DFS. That's it. My brain is still in football mode. I wrote up so much shit today for fantasy points. Really long Super Bowl column for me on fantasy points today. If you want to check out some NFL prop betting stuff. But yeah, I actually took an Adderall today, full disclosure. So if you think I talk fast normally, we'll see how it goes with me in general. Because Dorian Finney-Smith, not Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is also not relevant to NFL either, but, look at their NFL data, NFL names. You know how it goes. LeBron here, number 2. So anyway, big stand on Jokic, 7x the field. That'll go up even more if I had to guess. If you did get Jamal Murray being out, if you did get really one of Jamal Murray, Gordon being out, both being out would mean endless Nikola Jokic for me. The big question for Nikola Jokic at this point is really, back-to-back, not great. Tough spot versus Orlando. Those are things that are not great. A lower pace team, defensively sound team overall. That said, if they have less guys out and the game's going to be competitive and Orlando's not the kind of team that usually is going to fully blow you out, run you off the court, I think you want to go to Jokic more than not. And in a tough matchup too, a lower pace spot, getting Nikola Jokic in the half court game, I think looks pretty good. So for Nikola Jokic over here, I think he is worth the big exposure, even though it feels like a really big stand on him. But I also don't think the field will actually be at 6% ownership. Like, people want to play Jokic on every slate. I mentioned that up top. Yes, Yoval is available tonight, or Joval available tonight. Jonas Valanciunas. It should be Yoval because he is Jonas, but yes, he'll be available tonight, so that'll throw off some of the Kings projections that we don't have in here right now. LeBron James, 38% for the field. I'm getting him at 20. Still a reasonable 55 fantasy point projection. Clearly, I am favoring Nikola Jokic here, able to get there with some of the value on the slate. So LeBron, your second pay up option on the slate. These are the only two guys above a 10K salary, and it's a 2K difference between Jokic and LeBron. But LeBron, overall the rate's pretty good in court time without Anthony Davis and without D'Angelo Russell. We're looking at 1.44 fantasy points a minute, 33% usage, 43% assist rate. Like, LeBron's not a bad play by any stretch, but I just don't think he's in the tier of play as Nikola Jokic is. Maybe if you want to count for the matchup here, given the fact that Jokic does have that spot going against a slow-paced Orlando team, again, a defensively good Orlando team. The Lakers are facing Golden State, who's going to be missing a lot of people and probably a little more prone to play looser than usual as a result. Draymond also seemingly likely to be out on a back-to-back. The defense certainly going to be weaker without him out there. He's not the player he used to be, but that alone does matter at this point. And if you get Trace Jackson Davis out again, could be really bad for Golden State's defense. So I would get going LeBron's way on sort of that concept, but this ownership split makes no sense to me. 38% for LeBron, 6% for Jokic. I would rather have Jokic at 6%, a lot more personally. Domantas Sabonis. So I was getting 31% here. Having Joe Val in, if he's projected to play about 20 minutes, would be my guess. Still going to upset the projections enough here. So I would guess Sabonis is going to go down a good amount. 21% for the field was the projected ownership by Stokastic before the show. I had him at 31%. I think both those numbers go does Joker on a back-to-back matter at all? I would say to some extent it does. Obviously, if they're getting their ass kicked, they're going to pull them faster. And yesterday, I know they played pretty deep into the fourth, but how many minutes? They were in the lead by a good amount. Yeah, Jokic still got a fourth quarter stint. That's so dumb. They won that game by 25 points, and Jokic should have a fourth quarter stint. But Jokic played 36 minutes yesterday, so good amount of run, in his normal band. I wouldn't worry about it personally, but again, he just shouldn't be 6% owned. You want to tell me that I've got too much Jokic at 43%? I'll absolutely give you that. But 6, you gotta have Jokic at least 15 and 20%, I think, even if you want to fade him, soft fade him. Jokic's last few back-to-backs has put up some wild numbers. Sure. And Zion played the blowout too. Well, they needed him to get loose. Anthony Edwards, not getting a lot of Anthony Edwards. I gave him a pretty big rate boost from having Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo out. Overall, as I talked about in other matchups with Anthony Edwards, since these guys have gone out, he's been averaging 37% usage with both guys out, 28% assist rate, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. That said, Edwards at 9,700, I guess not a good enough value here. So he's another guy. I feel like Jokic, if he's going to be 6% owned, that's insane. If Ant's 7% owned, I'd probably want to get more there, but not looking good enough right now. Yes, Murray did have a downgrade as well. I mentioned that. Again, wrote it up on the DK network, but it is Murray questionable, Gordon questionable, and if those guys are out, it's going to be a lot more Jokic than it is right now. And the entire game will be on his hands at that point. We got Jason Tatum here, 15.5% for the field. I'm going to get 7. Not a big pro stand for me. No issue with Tatum, really, but I'd, again, prefer Jokic. Would have preferred Sabonis. I think Sabonis may be coming down. Will give me a shot at getting more Tatum. Yeah, I think that's basically it. If Sabonis comes down, I probably get a little bit more Tatum, a little bit more Anthony Edwards. But that's how that'll look for me. James Harden, 23% for the field feels like a lot. I'm getting him at 17%. Again, no issue with James Harden, really. He's played fairly well over the course of the season. Clippers, I guess, missing a few guys technically here with the trades. You're going to get Terrence Mann out of the lineup now. I forget where he's going, but he got traded. Kevin Porter Jr. going to Milwaukee, so that's going to be one that'll shift things around a little bit in the rotation, but not enough for me to think that James Harden is like a great play. I said it last time out, too. Kawhi Leonard feels like with the minutes coming up, he could potentially get to high 20s, it looks like, with how the minutes have been kind of escalating, though it does feel like they've stalled maybe a little bit. If Kawhi gets his minutes up, he's now up to 1.1 fantasy points per minute. With Harden being owned by a quarter of the field, I do think that's kind of interesting leverage. Norman Powell, I guess, would also be leverage against Harden being this owned. But really, Powell, I think, is the one guy who kind of suffers the most for having Kawhi in the mix. So I think being early on Kawhi wouldn't be crazy to do at 6,800 trim and small forward, power forward eligibility. Nothing else really to note here. Daniel Gafford, I've pretty well projected. Stokastic, though, flat with me, 39.4 for me, 39.5 for them. Norman Powell, I am getting above the field here, so I guess I am getting my Harden leverage with that. Again, not a big fan of Norman Powell when we have Kawhi and Harden in, but I do think with him being decently owned, decent salary, playing 35 minutes or projected to play 35 minutes here in a match versus Indiana, whose defense is middle of the pack, I guess a little bit worse than that. I really don't have an issue with Norman Powell. I'm surprised to be getting that much. Let's sort by value here, and we'll go game by game. I feel like I gotta fix the pace of this video a little bit. I feel like I don't know if I spend too much time on these parts, because then I always have to rush game by game, and I know that's the better way to do it. But let me know your feedback in the comments in the chat in general, if you have any that's helpful and not just calling me ugly, gay, whatever. I don't know. Whatever things. I don't think you guys do that in the chat, but just like, I don't need that. Something else here could be it. Have I missed the Dick puns? Not on this slate. Dick came up short last night, though. Dick also, I was kind of running Toronto's projections last night out of curiosity because they have so many high usage guys, so many guys in that lineup now who are like 1.1-ish fantasy points per minute. It's going to be a weird looking team for Toronto. If we do get Ingram back, I think some of the Raptors like subreddits out there speculating that Ingram might be out the rest of the year and I just want his bird rights. I don't think he's that hurt. I think he's been sitting out because he wants to get traded. Toronto has like those guys playing with Barrett, with Quickly, with Barnes, with Ingram, and Pirtle too, to a lesser extent. Like, Grady Dick's going to have so much less minutes, but like it's a lot of usage go around. It's going to be a weird team. Toronto went to shit in the second half. Pathetic. I mean, well, maybe they knew something was up there because Kelly Olynyk was one of the guys that got traded. And Olynyk and Jacoby Walter to stop playing in the second half, basically DFS-wise. This part's more useful in the game by game. All right, fair enough. So value guys here. So sorting by value. Jared Vanderbilt, as I've talked about here, giving him the smaller sample size of rate data for this year. He's been averaging for himself about 12% usage, which is not very high, but a 22% rebound rate, 14% assist rate, 1.15 fantasy points per minute is what I would have Vanderbilt for today. On the year, he's had 1.11. So Vanderbilt, to me, a little bit of a value I don't love. I do have a thing where if I run the optimizer on the solver to kind of get a read on lineups I might want to play first before I do some sim stuff. I do a thing basically where I'll cut exposure to guys if they don't project for over 1 fantasy point per minute, or if they don't have over 25 minutes on the court, because basically sort of what you need to have an outlier day at any salary for those guys, like guaranteed court time or really good production per minute. Vanderbilt's been playing well enough, but like the minutes aren't really there in a way where I don't know that he benefits quite so much from Dalton Connect not being in, because it's possible, I guess, you could get more Gabe Vincent, more Finney Smith. Stokastic has Vanderbilt playing 21.5 minutes. That could be a little bit high as well, but he's been playing well in the year. It's not really a big stand for me right now. I'm getting 16% of my top on 50 lineups compared to 19% for the field. Vanderbilt's one where, like, if the minutes go up, he might be a great play. If the minutes just kind of are where they are and there isn't more to get from Connect being traded, which, by the way, that's a great trade as well to give up Connect. He's been shooting like shit. Like, he's a player that, like, you bring him in, he's supposed to be a knockdown shooter, shooting terribly to start his career. It'll get better for him. But, like, really, they gave up nothing for Mark Williams. Anyway, Vanderbilt at this point, they need bigs. They need big minutes. He's been good. So 3,200, take your shots. I would say try to be closer to the field than not would be my feel for it. I think game by game is most important. Start there and then see where you are. All right. I feel like opening with value because people want to get to the crux of things is always where I lean with that. But different feedback here. Please leave me comments because you guys all watch the video, obviously. So let me know because I really want to make sure we get this video optimized as much as possible before hopefully it start growing more. Pat Spencer. So another guy getting minutes today for Golden State. You have no Schroeder, no Wiggins, a lot of opportunity opening up. The assumption right now is no Draymond Green, his projection set. So as a result, guys like Pat Spencer coming up a little bit more. Buddy Hield going to be coming up more. The guy in the thumbnail, Brandon Pajemski with his stupid hair, going to come up a little bit more as well. So Pajemski here, getting him in a ton of lineups. Pat Spencer getting him in a ton of lineups. Pajemski, though, is obviously the bigger stand. The field is 82% Pajemski. I'm getting 92. Whenever you see a player being this highly owned, like, you got to ask yourself, does Pajemski have an 82% chance of hitting? I think that's a tough question to answer. At 4,400, though, he's really the value on the slate that seems like he's got to get good minutes. 35.2 minutes feels like a lot, but Golden State's got enough guys to play minutes, assuming that everybody who's in Stokastic projection set does play. They still have Steph, obviously. Pajemski, Trey Jackson Davis, Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, Kevon Looney, Quentin Post, Gary Payton, Guy Santos, Stokastic doesn't have in. Jackson Rowe at power forward, Pat Spencer at point guard. They have some ways that maybe Podziemski doesn't play. But I would say that for him, it seems like the minutes are secure. 35.2 is a little bit much. He doesn't really gain a whole lot in rates from not having Wiggins out there, not having Schroeder out there. But I think he is your best value play in the slate. So Podziemski's getting, I guess it is a broccoli haircut. It feels like a little bit off from the broccoli hair, but him and Chet, I guess, do have very similar hair. So fair enough. But Podziemski, used to have a shortcut. I feel like looked better on him. All right, Podziemski, fine enough player here, and he's your value play of the day. The ownership, though, is a lot to stomach. But I am getting more in my top 150 sim lineups. Pat Spencer, 21% here. As I mentioned, he's your lesser value Podziemski. If Podziemski somehow got less minutes, it might be because Spencer got more as sort of your second ball handler / creator. Spencer is kind of a nothing dude to me. He looks like the kind of guy who would be like in a mid-major. I don't have him on my sheet in a good spot. Let me bump him up here. Pat Spencer. Because I would like to talk to you guys about some Pat Spencer rates. But unfortunately, we have too many dudes in. Dre, take him out. All right, so Spencer, 20% usage, 31% assist rate, 0.98 fantasy points a minute. A lot of that in like real garbage time. The Lakers are a pretty soft team right now, so maybe you're not getting too different. I really think that for Pat Spencer, the 3K minimum thing is the key part here. In fact, he's produced about 1 fantasy point per minute is the key thing here. I'm not going crazy on him right now at 21% compared to 9% for the field, but and he has direct leverage against Podziemski. So I don't hate the concept of Pat Spencer. I just I watch him and he feels like a frat intramural league player, and I just don't get real athlete vibes for Pat Spencer. But that might be a personal thing because I have played him on slates before and been like, why am I doing this? He doesn't make me feel like Ty Jerome is, I guess, the best way to say it for Pat Spencer. Kevon Looney, a lot of minutes to go around theoretically here, assuming that we do get Trace Jackson Davis not in or limited in some capacity. So getting 41% Kevon Looney right now, 35% for the field. Draymond as well, assuming that he's out. Going to look pretty good for Kevon Looney as your other key, I would say, value for Golden State that does seem like he's locked into some minutes. Is he a lax bro? I mean, I don't know if you're saying he's a lax bro in real life, but he does give off lax bro vibes. Just really like Sam Howell vibes, a little sloppy. He's not all the way. It's not a refined play, that Pat Spencer. Kevon Looney, though, going to get some good amount of minutes. Like Podziemski and Looney, I think, would be the more solid plays here, even though you would get Pat Spencer an optimizer and Jared Vanderbilt, as we talked about. I think the minutes a little bit overrated perhaps right now, 21.5. He can get there, but I'm not sold that he does get there. And if he, God forbid, he doesn't play as well per minute. Quentin Post has been starting for the Warriors as well. He was a pro lacrosse player? I didn't know that. That's interesting. All right, well, I guess Pat Spencer, good for him. But he also looks like a lax bro whose better days were behind him. Quentin Post, I guess, would fit what we talked about here. Quentin Post, Gary Payton, 2 other Warriors here coming up. Obviously, there's just so many minutes to go around, so many possessions. These guys, to me, Payton, I am favoring in my ownership, 18% of my top 150, 5% for the field, getting less Post. Post's been playing good minutes as the nominal starter overall. Yesterday, he played 25 minutes. So I don't know. Honestly, these minutes feel a little bit low for Post. 23.1 if he just played 25, and we're expecting to not have more guys in today, Draymond in particular, I guess. So that's weird. I don't know. I think Post getting a few more minutes would look better, but right now an okay value, getting him at only 5% compared to the field's 14. Tari Eason picked up the start last time he played, then sat the second part of that back-to-back, I believe. So Eason played about 30 and change minutes in that game. Stokastic has him for 31 today. Basically at this point for Tari Eason, I'm getting him a ton, 73% of my top 150, fields at 23%. He's been really good overall this season, which I probably don't have to tell you guys. But Tari Eason averaging, I believe, 1.1 fantasy points a minute. 1.1 flat. Today I'd have him a little bit lower than that, accounting for the match with Minnesota. I'd have him at 1.04. But if he's going to play starter minutes, if he's going to be the starter again, and I would watch out for that. If he's not announced a starter, you got to get less Tari Eason because the situation's meaningfully changed. But I think at this point right now, Tari Eason looks like a really good play at 5,200. It would definitely be a core play for me with 73% of my lineups having him. Buddy Hield, 68% for me compared to 45%. Same thing with the Warriors. Big vacancy and opportunity there for these guys. Hield feels like one that can naturally step into a lot of shots that Wiggins leaves behind. But sometimes it doesn't go that way for Buddy Hield. So not a crazy projection for me at 26 compared to 27.2 for Stokastic. But at 4,200, he looks pretty good and good positionality as well. And yes, like that button, please. And I appreciate it, guys, if you do that, because really, small creators like me, we need the little bit of an algorithmic boost. So you're hitting the like on this video every day, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. goes a long way, as does subscribing, trying to get to the 1K subs for the All-Star break. It's looking like it's not going to happen, but we're going to keep asking for it here. You guys, about 60% plus of people that watch these videos aren't subscribed, and it matters a lot more for guys like me who are trying to broker deals with sites like Underdog. Of course, the partnership we have with Unabated, Stokastic, all of that. So it goes a long way if you guys do subscribe, hit the like button, so please do it. And of course, check out Unabated too, our presenting sponsor here, with $30 off, promo code SPLASH at unabated.com/NBA. All right, the game-by-game portion here that mixed reviews on based on the chats earlier in the show. We'll try to get through it, though, with a 6-gamer here. Dallas, 110.3 implied points. Boston, 121.3 on their side. Dallas, no Anthony Davis expected today. He's supposed to make his debut on Saturday versus Houston now. It seems like. Thank you. Not a small streamer accounts. That's fair. Look, for basketball, I'm competing against companies that doing similar numbers to your Shipits for the most part, maybe a little bit less than Run Pure. So look, I'm hanging in there, but we're trying to grow here, and I do hope that my big value added to talk about, I show up and do the best I can to give you guys the data every day and what I'm seeing things. NBA is just going to make it tough. It could make this video irrelevant sometimes by 7 o'clock, but the goal here is always to do the best we can at 4 o'clock Monday to Friday every day, and I will do that for you as long as somebody's paying me to do it. We got Dallas here. Daniel Gafford's the big stand for me. 2x the field. They're at 16%. I'm at 33. Besides that, low on Kyrie here. He's been pretty good, though, without Luka and without some of the other guys who I took out for the rate data. Basically, for him, he's been about, I think, 1.3 rounding up fantasy points per minute is Kyrie Irving. So if you want to take a tournament shot on him against Boston, revenge spot, you certainly can. Yeah, for Kyrie, he's been good enough this year, asserting himself certainly with Luka gone and no AD for one more day. I could see it. But projection-wise, doesn't look that great to me, so getting Gafford a lot more. Not a lot of Klay Thompson for me or the field, 4%, 3% for me. Najee Marshall, I'm under on him. Basically, you're getting enough guys in now. No Caleb Martin added to the rotation, so you're missing Grimes. But you have Examen taking a good amount of minutes, good amount of fancy production away. Marshall's been a similar producer. Dinwiddie's been pretty good on the year, relative to Spencer Dinwiddie at the very least. Roster's pretty full and appropriately priced, and Boston, down-paced spot, and also a tough defense. Sure, guy Tyler being here. Always glad to see him. Check out his football videos if you enjoy that content. If you enjoy that sort of thing. Fantasy Sanctuary on YouTube. We got Boston, 121.3 implied points here. That's right. Max Christie as well as the other one. Him being added in. He doesn't do a whole lot. He's soaking up minutes for sure. Boston, 121.3 implied points. So Jason Tatum, 15% owned. Jaylen Brown, 15% owned. Expect this to be a competitive game, so I really wouldn't mind you going to Tatum and Brown here. That said, I am at half the exposure on Tatum, getting 7%. A little bit under on Jaylen Brown at 13%. A little bit up on Drew Holiday, who's currently questionable as well. If he were out, Derek White would look better. Brown would look a little bit better. Tatum, Porzingis, they'd all get micro better. And Pritchard would get more minutes, so he'd be closer to playable at 4,800. Really no priorities to me from Boston, though. These guys are all right, but nothing I think that seems like a must-have. A sip of water. Sip of water for the working man here. I got Houston. I feel like Chunk said it in chat, but now I could feel the Adderall in my mouth, where I feel like I need as a not usual Adderall taker. Now it's hitting. Houston, 106.5 implied points. But I don't think I'm talking faster than usual, so I think I'm pretty good at drugs, is what that's what I feel like. Houston, 106.5 implied points. Tari Eason, the enormous stand here. You have no Fred VanVleet today. You also have no Jabari Smith, obviously. But Tari Eason picking up the start last time that he played is really the big thing here. Played over 30 minutes. If he's going to be able to do that, the Terror Twins lineup with Tari Eason and Amin Thompson, which really feels like they should lean in on here without making any big trade deadline acquisitions. Eason is kind of their acquisition. If they're going to start starting him, giving him real minutes, play Cam Whitmore off the bench, get a similar kind of bench boost. I love the way Houston lines up here. I wish their total were better at 106.5 implied points. But Eason going to be a key play for me here, assuming that he does start. If he's coming off the bench again, then all bets are off here. But for right now, with VanVleet out, and Adams also doubtful too, if that matters. There's more minutes to go around for Tari Eason, so he looks like a very strong play. Amin Thompson, by the way, you want to take your shot, you can. Doesn't look like the matchup for me relative to this total and where he's projected at. But Amin Thompson, 8,400, point guard, small forward. He's always got the ability to break a slate, so you want to play him versus Minnesota. Maybe he just rips Anthony Edwards over and over and over again, makes his day hell. It's a possibility. Or he just gets some more usage in a competitive spot. I'm never going to begrudge an Amon Thompson tournament day, and today is not him as like a chalk play where he projects super well. He's just kind of in that range, not looking too great. I used to love Jim Jeffries. I even watched his show on FX for a while, but I don't know. I kind of fell off with a lot of those comedians that were like on the Opie and Anthony circuit back in the day that just didn't follow them. Some of them also got a little too weird for me politically, including the aforementioned Anthony of that side of things. Way too weird politically for me. Minnesota, 107.5 implied points. That's just like outright racist for him in particular. Like, I'm not even getting weird about like straight up guys drops N-bombs. Like, you can't do that. Minnesota, 107.5 implied points. Naz Reid. Your big play here for the field, 33% for the field, 25% for me. Everything else here, not very highly owned. We got 4% for Anthony Edwards in my top 150, 7% for the field. And that's with me projecting Anthony Edwards 3.5 points higher. So as I mentioned before the show, basically didn't have the projection update because Joe Val, him playing today was not a part of things. As a result, I'm getting more Sabonis. And I think if I get less Sabonis because of Joe Val being in, I'll get a little more Anthony Edwards. I would think from that prism, probably a little more Jason Tatum as well, because those price points are all really similar and Sabonis just projected the best. But I think Edwards is a pretty good play. Like, it's a tough matchup, but he does gain a lot from not having, Julius Randle in and DiVincenzo. As I mentioned before, 37% usage with those guys out. So it's a pretty big jump up from the 31% he's at normally. It'll be tough defense though, like getting Thompson, getting all that they do defensively, schematically, and also frankly not having Van Vliet out there. It's just like one little guy you can't bully around. It's gonna be pretty good. He got sober. Oh, good for him, but also it's kind of tough when that's like your whole shtick. And also when you're Australian, right? Like, I don't know. How many sober Australians are there? Like 2? Got Orlando, 106.3 implied points here. Again, love the spot for Jokic on the other side, which we'll talk about in a moment. Not getting a lot of Franz Wagner, neither is the field. They're at 10%. I'm at 16, so I'm up on him. 8% Banchero compared to 7% for the field here, so I am up on Banchero, but not by a lot. No Suggs here again, so nothing looks that good, though. The minutes are kind of choppy. Franz and Banchero are pretty much your only magic you want, I think, on any slate at this point. Denver, talked about Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon being questionable. If those guys are out, it just looks a lot better for these guys. Obviously, your chance of a blowout gets a little bit higher. Aaron Gordon, vestigial revenge game, I guess, going against one of his former teams. But really, those guys being in, everything looks okay here ownership-wise. Nobody above 10%, but really not any must-plays. I am crazy up on Jokic, though. There's enough value on the slate to get there, and I do have Jokic projected for just shy of 68 fantasy points. So I'm good with Jokic on any slate. It is like a tougher matchup, but I think in these matchups, this is when Jokic creates more in the half court, has to kind of force some shots of himself more. And if God forbid they get Murray and Gordon now, like every possession is going to flow through either Jokic or Porter's hands. I guess a little bit more for Brown too, who does sometimes get his usage up, but like generally Brown 16% usage, like not really your guy. All right, land down under where women glow and men shunder. That's true. Who's the band? Is that Men at Work? I think that's Men at Work, right? Sacramento, 114.8 implied points. That's a song that predates me, but because my parents used to play 80s music all the time in the car, I know entirely too much of that genre. And I wear my sunglasses tonight. Corey Hart, that's number one on the hit list. Sacramento, 114.8 implied points here. Portland, 115.8. Domantas Sabonis, as we mentioned, if you have Joe Val in, things look a little bit less good for a guy like Sabonis, who does kind of thrive off the rebounds, putback stuff. Sabonis just losing those minutes at all is not good for him. I would expect Valanciunas to play like 20 minutes, so that alone will knock Sabonis down a little bit more, who I would have projected really well because not having De'Aaron Fox in. Zach LaVine really acquiesced in his first game, averaged only 0.7 fantasy points per minute. That's going to level out over the course of time. I haven't tweaked his rates from Chicago, but I did give the other guys a boost that they would normally get with De'Aaron Fox out. So basically, with the guys kind of leveling out here, I don't think I'll get as much Sabonis. Malik Monk, I might get a similar amount of for him. Does get a pretty big rate boost in assists in particular, kind of becomes your true point guard for the team. DeRozan, not getting a lot of here, certainly won't get more because of Joe Val being in. I think Sacramento having Joe Val in really just upsets the equation more, where these guys looked good, and now I don't think they will. Portland on their side, you got DeAndre Ayton, who's been playing fairly well. I'm not getting there, though. 7% Fields at 8, so pretty even with the field stand. Denny Avdia, 20% for me, 22.5% for the field. I really don't know why I'm getting that much. He's playing 31 minutes. He's 6,600, and he's small forward, power forward. It's basically it. Really, I don't love Portland very much here. The totals aren't bad, but the defense on neither side's that good either. So I guess that's okay. I don't know. It's a competitive game, and it's not a great total, but neither team's really good at anything. So I guess that's like a reason to maybe want them more in DFS, but I don't have a strong feel for the game, and I'm kind of surprised to be getting Avdia. Like normally you get kind of loftier exposure when it's like, oh, this guy's mispriced or somebody's out in the rotation. Everybody's in for Portland. Everybody's in, for Sacramento now if Joe Val's going to be playing. So a little bit of a weird scene. We're talking some safety dance, of course. So you gotta do your safety dance. All right, so we got 107.5 implied points. A's music rules because all the cocaine, I think, would be big thing here. Golden State 107.5 implied points. Lakers 7.5 point favorite here at home. Draymond Green not in the projection set. The assumption is that he doesn't play, but Golden State's injury report was not out before the show, so Stokastic didn't update their minutes accordingly. That said, Steph Curry does get a pretty big rate boost in court time without Wiggins and some of the other guys who are not available for Golden State. For Steph Curry, I would have him today. 756 possessions he's had without, in particular, Wiggins, but I think I also put on Schroeder on there. 33% usage for him, 30% assist rate, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. Got Steph Curry up to 1.3 fantasy points per minute here. So Steph Curry, I think if we had this rotation as it is, would look like an interesting tournament play. Fields at 20%, I got 15. I do see from Power here, we did get a Golden State report. So Draymond and Jackson Davis probable, so that's going to throw things off here. Gee and Moody questionable. Okay. So Gee and Moody then will have a projection on them. Moody already does. Those guys being in the rotation's not good. Jackson Davis being probable, Draymond being probable. This is gonna change around a lot. All right, so let me think real fast. Draymond gets minutes means we get less for Hield, less for Looney. Post should hold at 23, I think. Pat Spencer is going to come down. Podziemski's minutes will come down. This is going to move a lot. I think Podziemski's still going to remain a pretty good value. Buddy Hield, I think, will be a pretty good value, but not as highly owned. Podziemski's an 82%. I got him in 92. That's going to move. These are all going to move a little bit down, but I think it's going to kind of hold where Podziemski should still be a decent value. Hield should still be a decent value. Looney could get closer to going away, but I think will still be a decent value because Trace Jackson Davis is probably going to have limited minutes. So this one's one where you probably, I would say, watch the deeper dive because I'll get an update hopefully before we do that show with me today with Eric Lindquist. So the puppet's here. I don't know if we're going to bust out the puppet. Puppet's ready to go today. But check that stuff out later. I want to give you guys kind of incorrect data here, but I would guess that you'll still get Podziemski, you'll still get Hield, you'll still get Looney, but it probably comes down to like half the amount of ownership to be expected here. Podziemski is going to be in like every lineup before. Lakers 115 implied points on their side. LeBron looking okay to me, 20%, but the field's at 38, so a little bit of a fade of him. Really would rather have some other guys. Maybe getting less of Sabonis will open that up more for me, but that's where LeBron was at before the show. Rui Hachimura, 13%. The field's at 18. Not really a crazy stand here. A little bit under on him. With the field on Dorian Finney-Smith, whose name I couldn't think of before. Now we're here and we're locked in, but he's projected to play 30 minutes here. Does a little bit of everything. 0.7 fantasy points per minute is not very good, but he's an okay value on the slate. He's going to be getting minutes. Jared Vanderbilt, a little bit chalky for me here at 16%, but the field's higher at 19. I think Finney-Smith and Vanderbilt being the same ownership feels fair. Feels like they're kind of pulling from the same well there. And that's it for the Lakers. Just low on LeBron's the big stand. Austin Reeves theoretically get you some leverage on LeBron. He's not a bad value at like a flat 5X. So I think Austin Reeves, 1.2 fantasy points a minute for me today. You can take that shot. I think you actually would get really good leverage on LeBron if Reeves were to hit in a meaningful way. God forbid he gets one of his like triple doubles that come out of nowhere. That would really hurt the LeBron ownership and that amount. All right, Indiana, 112.3 implied points here. I'll make up some time. I got nothing from Indiana. These guys, full lineup. Everybody's healthy. Mathurin playing less minutes these days, but still in the mix enough. Really, for this point with Indiana, down pace spot versus a good Clippers defense. I don't see the reason to go here. Clippers lately have had a few weird spots. The Lakers beat them the other day, and I think I said in the stream, like, I think the Lakers get their ass kicked. No, they were really good. They beat the Clippers. So maybe the Clippers going the wrong way a little bit. That one stood out to me as like, I'm surprised by this outcome. So maybe there's more to Indiana here than I see, but the ownership's not there. I'm not there. And last team on the slate, so please smash that like button. We got Clippers, 117.3 implied points. Getting a lot of Norman Powell here, 33% for me. Would love some value to open up that would change this around, but I think with the Clippers value, or the Warriors value closing up a little bit, I'll probably get Powell possibly even more as sort of a mid-tier guy to build a little more balanced. Getting him at 33%, the field's at 24. Getting Zubac less than the field, but I'm still at 19%. Field's at 24 for him. Harden getting a little less than the field at 17. Field's at 23. Kawhi Leonard a little bit less than the field at 7. Field's at 12. Do you think Kawhi, as I mentioned earlier, due for a breakout day at any point now with the minutes stabilizing and his fantasy points minute production getting a lot more where it should be? Drew Eubanks, not really in the mix, but he's on the team now. And no Kevin Porter Jr. for the team, so don't play him as a value. Some people will be doing that every day. I don't love anything on the Clippers, but you're getting a little bit of all of them, so that's really how that looks. And now, you know what we're going to do, guys. We're going to go to the world of Unabated, see what their conditional NBA projections think. And it's time for you to take a valuable lesson about what it means to have conditional NBA projections in your life and a man rambling over a video. You're going to get that right now. And all the data that Underdog, and then he moved over to Unabated now, and he's changing the game for a whole bunch of bettors. Dynamic projections. I get depressed every time I see DeJounte Murray, but he's out. He's gonna stay out. He's not. It's not changing for him. Also, there are prop lines here. Of course, you can run some simulations, see the data. The data you're gonna see includes graphs. Oh, it includes graphs. People love graphs. Now you're getting graphs right where you want them. Your face, your monitor, computer. Expert Game Day live streams, they compete with this video, so you don't need to watch them, but they do a great job on them. I'll give them full credit for that. You should watch this video instead. But, and then you'll be counting your money. If you sign up at unabated.com/NBA, check it out. And again, you can see here the ROI graph. You'd be up about 38K if you were betting every bet they give you 30 minutes before tip-off. That has a 5% or higher sim ROI or an edge, and $100 bets. You're placing $10 bets, you'd be up $3,800. And granted, look, it's a lot to ask people to show up every day 30 minutes before tip-off, placing different bets. That's what you couldn't do if you're hitting every bet possible. If you hit less bets, you'll make less money, but you'll have a better shot at capturing that ROI. So really, Unabated is a great tool. The data's backed. And they also asked specifically to show you guys, you beautiful people in the chat, there's a Super Bowl prop bet tool that they have, where it's basically all the bets in one page. You can see their projections for the lines where they have them. When I pull them in, or here we go, pull in market-based projections. You now compare accordingly. You'd also add every sportsbook you want in here. So you want to place your various alt receiving lines. You've got them all here. Defensive interception stats. Fucking knock yourself out with that one. That one's, I don't even know these guys' names. No, it's not true. I know their names, unfortunately. There you go. That's what they have here. So one of their tools you get as part of your general Unabated package. Check it out. Let's go to the NBA bets now. Let's pull in Unabated's projections, get it going. But they didn't want me to show that to you guys, and it is a great tool. Graphs about hardwood or hardwood about graphs, a little bit of both, a little bit of column A. And yes, talked about this several times. Jamal Murray, Q tag as well. YouTube blocked what? What did they block? I don't know what they're blocking. Hopefully nothing. All right. To the conditional projections. Let's pull in the Unabated regular ones. Let's sim it out. So we're not going to get any exposure to guys or any bets from Denver, Boston, or Orlando here. So keep that in mind. But everything else, we'll see what the best EVs are at your pick'em sites, PrizePicks and Underdog, and of course, DraftKings and FanDuel. So the major books. And there are a lot more books available on Unabated. I just only show you the primary ones here because that way we don't give away the milk for free. We don't want you getting all that, all that free betting info. All right, why is it not? What are we doing here? Says the sim's running, but it doesn't look like it is. All right, let's give this one more go here. Stop. Let's stop, collaborate, and listen. Why is it not pulling the projections in? Oh, you know what? No, I'm logged in. All right, guys, give me 1 second here. Let's give the page a refresh. Sometimes, look, this kind of thing I'm going to say because we're stalling and trying to get the product to work. Sometimes for me, look, if I'm in a public place like a crowded stadium, I sometimes don't feel comfortable peeing. You're like, same thing here, perhaps for Unabated, where the projections don't feel like peeing in front of everybody right now. Let's pull up a different market. Maybe that's the issue. I don't have to pay for it. I get it for free. So that's not the issue here. I'm not sure what the deal is here. I guess maybe we'll do the market-based version. Let's do the market-based version instead. It must be an issue with their projection set going in. I'm sure they're going to fix it really fast. Yeah, baseball games is the worst. We have a big trough. I don't want to pee. So look, I get it, Unabated. I get how it goes. We're going to run the market-based projections instead because it has to be an issue with the Unabated projection set not being updated correctly. So I don't want to waste your guys' time. We'll get it right here. I'm sure we're pulling in every market. So again, instead of using the conditional projections, which now you have to pay for today, we're going to use the market-based data instead, which uses basically an elevated version of an average from all the sports books that they trust, and then weights it against the what the bets are available. So that's what we're going to get right now. Quentin Post, 5.5% EV, and a market-based EV could be a little bit lower. 2% or higher is normally going to be good. 3% or higher is going to be the best. Quentin Post here, we got over 8.5 points. We got PrizePicks is the line there for Quentin Post, over 8.5 on PrizePicks, gets you 5.5% EV. Dante Exum, over 7.5 points. That one's also going to go on PrizePicks. At least we're getting a PrizePicks card together. 3.4% EV on there. You can see it's over 7.5 is the line, and not as good on FanDuel or DraftKings at a little bit more vig, and on FanDuel you have to do over 8.5. But Dante Exum over 7.5 on PrizePicks, good to go. Jalen Green under 22.5 points. Good to go on FanDuel Sportsbook, reading 3.4% expected value. You don't want it on your pickup sites. You could bet it on DraftKings, though, where it's also under 22.5 at minus 120 odds. Brandon Pajemski now under 14.5. I think taking an under on him would look pretty good, given the fact we just found out, I guess, that they've got more Q tags and probable guys than we would have expected, including Draymond in particular. So Pajemski under 14.5 points, minus 120 odds on DK Sportsbook, gets you 3.3% EV. Daniel Gafford over 14.5, minus 115 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook. I love Gafford overs in DFS today. I love playing them a lot in DFS. 3.1% EV for Daniel Gafford today on DraftKings Sportsbook. And Miles Turner under 14.5 points you could do on FanDuel at minus 113. Derek Jones over 9.5 on DraftKings minus 125. Those are both under a 3% EV, but rounding up, you're close enough if you want to take them. Follow your hearts. I can't tell you everything, you know? All right. I really think Unabated, like, if you ever have questions about the affiliate partnership, the fact that I'm willing to throw out that I sometimes have a shy bladder in public just to protect their product, I think that should really put us over the top for they need to protect me from the world. We got Quentin Post, another under on Quentin Post. Quentin Post under 5.5 rebounds, probably a little bit mispriced for, again, Draymond and that not having there. No, thankfully my mother-in-law is here today, so I do have the kid, but she's covering right now. Quentin Post under 5.5 rebounds on PrizePicks, 13.4% EV, not playable anywhere else. It's fade Quentin Post once again on PrizePicks. Jalen Green under 4 rebounds, good to go on PrizePicks as well, 3% EV on there. Jalen Green under 4 rebounds for him. Is that it? We might not have pulled in all the lines here. Just want to make sure. There's probably a few more sneaking. There we go. Mathurin over 3.5 rebounds, 9.7% EV on PrizePicks for the over 3.5 rebounds on Benedict Mathurin. Shaden Sharp over 3.5 rebounds, plus 130 odds on DK Sportsbook. Gets you 3.1% EV for Unabated's market-based projections. Jalen Green, we talked about. Wendell Carter. And Wendell Carter over 6 rebounds if you need it. All right, assists. See what we get here. Simming it out. Of course, Unabated, same process here, whether it's the conditional projections or market-based stuff. They're simming off a standard deviation 10,000 times. So that is why it does take a moment to load, but still honestly does it really fast. It's hard to run that stuff in quick time. All right, so let's resort. So we got every market in. Anthony Edwards under 5 assists on PrizePicks gets you 5.5% EV. So take Anthony Edwards under 5 assists on PrizePicks. Nowhere else does that look good. Kristaps Porzingis, 3.7% EV for under 2.5 assists for him. That one is also on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, soft on the market-based projections. Anthony Simons under 5.5 assists, 2.6% EV. Another one for the PrizePicks card if you need it. As if you didn't get enough for PrizePicks, but that's that. Other bets, not looking that good. This is why, too, you're kind of seeing market-based stuff. I saw it coming with my old sports betting data startup, which thankfully I don't have to deal with anymore. Just a very, very expensive lesson to learn. That's hard to sell a betting product because of the cost you have to pay to get good data in if you want to make a good product. But basically, like, market-based stuff can be tough. That's why Unabated's conditional NBA projections are one of the best edges you'll find. Projection-based tools give you a little more freedom here, especially when they do sims. You just get more of an edge. So I would really give the cosign here. You're kind of seeing it in real time. You just get a little bit less EV for the market-based projections in general. Though I feel like it's sitting pulling all the bets again. I mean, maybe it's just a Q tag, guys. All right. Last round of bets here for PRAs. We got Brandon Pajemski under 24.5 PRAs. So a little bit overpriced today from people who assume that Draymond, etc., weren't going to be playing. Pajemski under 25.5 PRAs, minus 110 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook. Gets you 4.9% EV. And that's it. So you got a PrizePicks card. You got a few for FanDuel and DraftKings. Hopefully that's enough. Underdog updated everything. So you got no value in Underdog today. But that's why you need those conditional NBA projections. Check them out for yourself when they do work correctly on Unabated. Today wasn't the day. And check out the Super Bowl tool, too. That is a really nice place to get the bets you want to get for Super Bowl. Check the EV, market shop around, approach that intelligently. And tools like Unabated or sites like Unabated care about that and give you the resources a lot more than some of the other dumb shit you'll get out there. Coin toss bets. Fucking unreal. You don't want that. But Unabated, $30 off, promo code SPLASH. See it down below. Click the link in the description as well to check out more about it. And Stokastic, which you'll see right now, 15% off. Promo code SPLASH. All the data, all the tools on there, whether it's NBA, NFL, the Super Bowl, get yourself a week. NHL, PGA, NASCAR, MMA. They have data and sim stuff for all of them. They're all 15% off with that promo code SPLASH. So click the link. Check it out down below. Go hop over there. Have some fun. Do some DFS. People think DFS is dying. I refuse to believe it. I don't think it's dying based on fucking tournaments filling like crazy every day. Can you pair Kyrie and Gafford as a contrarian stack for DFS? Sure. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? They don't pull from each other like that. Gafford, one of my favorite plays of the day. Kyrie, less so. But I mentioned Kyrie, I think. Certainly a tournament option. Tough matchup versus Boston. And the kind of player that would suffer the most because of the matchup would be a guy like Kyrie, where going to see a lot of double teams going his way, a lot of trapping, make him get rid of the ball. But yeah, no issue with that if you like it. And guys, run the sim right now for Stokastic. So 5,000 lineups being simmed out 10,000 times against each other. We're going to get that in a moment. Quick little whoring here, though. You got the affiliates, the plugs for our partners. Plug for me. Please subscribe down below with the like button. Leave a comment. You can see our guy Crack here / K-Rack. It sounds more like a radio station when it's spelled like that. You can see him here saying the like here, and I appreciate our chat very much. Appreciate having you guys here. I'm here every day, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Thanks to our friends at Unabated. So would love to have you guys here. Some days the NBA makes it hard. Some days these shows go by, and it's like smooth sailing, smooth like Nutella on a butt crack. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something else that'd be smooth. I don't say Nutella on a baby's butt. That'd be weird. You don't want to do that. That's not the butt cream they say to put on your child's butt to keep from getting red. You get the zinc, not Nutella. Anyway, and these are the tangents you get here too, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Got to fill a lot of time between all the data being pulled. So we don't have updates yet. It looks like in the Stokastic data for Draymond Green not being in. As a result, we are going to get an overload of Warriors here. So keep that in mind. But the data is the data that we have. We got to use what we have in the system right now. And again, this is Stokastic data. My projection's not inputted in at all. It's just what you're seeing. What you saw in the first half of the video was my data using Stokastic stuff and their Sims tools. Now you're just going to get their takes on things without me involved. Yeah, eating groceries. Fucking Faith was eating... See Notorious B.I.G.'s butt, as I saw on Twitter, which I don't need to know everything in the world. And that's one I definitely didn't need to know. And now you had to as well. So ha. Funny how that works. Pat Spencer, your number one ROI lineup. Notorious B.I.G.'s deceased butt, not. Pat Spencer, though. Brandon Pajemski, Keegan Murray, Tari Eason, Daniel Gafford, Steph Curry, Moses Moody, Nikola Jokic. That is so many Warriors. This lineup's going to look different now that we're going to have to update the projections for having Draymond Green in most likely. But it's a lot of Warriors, and you'll still get some amount of Warriors, I think, no matter what, even with Draymond being in. Brandon Pajemski again at number 2, Jaylen Brown, Gary Payton, another Warrior, Tari Eason, Alperen Şengün, Buddy Hield, Jared Vanderbilt, Nikola Jokic. So we expect the Warrior stuff to move around. We also expect Tari Eason to not move around. I would say Vanderbilt being here, I would note that because those guys, the projection is set. It's not going to change very much, unless Eason doesn't start, but we expect him to start. Number 3, you have Drew Holiday is questionable. Brandon Pajemski again. Franz Wagner, Tari Eason, Nikola Jokic, Buddy Hield, Jared Vanderbilt, Ivica Zubac. So getting Zubac in here for the first time, Jokic in here for the third time. You're going to have a little bit less value to get to Jokic, I guess. But frankly, if the projection's like Jokic enough, you still might get Warriors more than I expected. We were talking about that part. Number 4, you have James Harden, Brandon Pajemski once again, Gary Payton, Tari Eason, Domantas Sabonis, Buddy Hield, Norman Powell, Ivica Zubac. So Powell getting in here for Stokastic as well. Number 5, Podziemski once more. Buddy Hield, Jaylen Brown, Tari Easton, Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, Jared Vanderbilt, Kevon Looney. Honestly, Podziemski is so important to this lineup, and they're really not getting guys in the rotation who would take minutes away from guard minutes, kind of lead ball handler minutes. Podziemski's probably still going to come up a lot in a sim, would be my guess, because he probably just really makes lineups work. Your top ROI players with Stokastic data in the top 150 lineups, 25.5% ROI for Nikola Jokic, 21.5% for Gary Payton. That one's got to come down a little bit, I would think, with having Draymond and Guy Santos and Moody in. Like, it's a lot of guys being in. Tari Easton, 16% ROI. That one I'll defend as long as he's starting. Daniel Gafford, a 0% ROI, but the directional accuracy is what we're looking for. He's one of your top ROI guys. Moses Moody, negative 0.1%. Pat Spencer, negative 0.2%. He'll probably come down. Moody may as well. And Domantas Sabonis probably to come down for Joe Val being in as well. What do I think about teams knowing Tatum not responding to double teams? He's 40.5 PRAs. I don't think that's a thing. You're saying Jason Tatum's 40.5? I didn't look at Tatum's number before. Hold on. Check this tab real fast. I will run just because you asked. I'll run a sim and see what we think for 40.5 PRAs on Tatum. Unabated would have Tatum on 40.5 PRAs to be negative EV on both sides. Negative 2.5% for the under, negative 10.6% for the over. So I would trust the math on that one. Anyway, for the exposures, you're getting 93% for Podziemski. As I mentioned, that's probably to come down a little bit, but he'll still probably be in about half the lineups, to be my guess. Podziemski, though, looking like a key play before the addition of Draymond Green to the lineup because Stokastic did not have him in the data set. Tari Easton was in 75% of lineups. He may be even in more because of the fact the Warriors have a little bit less value. So Tari Easton, a key play here at, honestly, more than 3x the field ownership, almost 4x. Buddy Hield, you're getting 63% compared to 45. So Buddy Hield probably coming down a little bit here, but still be a chalky value play at 4,200. Kevon Looney's got to come down a little bit with Draymond being in. He was going to be owned by about a third of the field. Stokastic wanted to get more than that at 37%. Nikola Jokic was going to be at 35% compared to 6. The lack of Warriors value, the Warriors value being not quite as strong, maybe means a little bit less Jokic, but I mentioned in the beginning, I think a pro Jokic stand makes sense here if he's going to be 6% owned. Just find a way to jam him in. And if you do get Murray and Gordon out, even if you get one of them out, Jokic just has to be a much better play, despite the tough match versus Orlando. God forbid if like DraftKings people don't click Jokic because like, the hand builders, if they don't click Jokic because like he's got a bad DVT match versus Orlando, like they would be one of the most foolish people in the world of DFS, of which there are already many. Daniel Gafford, 35% compared to 17, and Domantas Sabonis, 34% compared to 19. Highest leverage guys would be you're getting 51% more than the field with Tari Easton, 28% more for Nikola Jokic, 18% more for Buddy Hield. As we mentioned, that'll probably come down a little bit. Daniel Gafford, 17% more, 2x the field on him. Gary Payton, 17% more. That can come down a little bit as well at 3,300. Domantas Sabonis, 15% more. That's probably to come down because the projection set doesn't include Joe Val. Sorry for all the caveats, but I'm just trying to make sure we're all on the same page. And Podziemski, 13% more than the field, which you'll probably still get a good amount. I don't know if you'll get quite as much leverage. LeBron James, negative 19% leverage. Quentin Post, negative 12% leverage. That one's probably to come down even more with Draymond being in. Rui Hachimura, negative 12% leverage. Anthony Simons, negative 8. Jason Tatum, negative 7. So a little bit of a soft fade on Tatum from Stokastic's data. Najee Marshall, negative 7. Christian Brown, negative 6. That is your slate, guys. I will be on the deeper dive at 5:30, so tune in there. Splash plays of the day coming up, but you got to know, we got to horror one more time first, guys. Like and subscribe. Do that first and foremost here. I'm just one dude running a channel, trying to get to the first 1K subs on here. We're 3 months in. I think we're at a good rate, but let's get that rate going. Let's get it done. Let's make me feel like I'm a real boy. Turn me in from a puppet to a real boy here by hitting the like button and subscribing down below. Underdog, $1,000 in bonus cash. Promo code SPLASH. All the sponsors linked down below. Stokastic, 15% off. Link down below. Promo code SPLASH for 15% off. And Unabated, our presenting sponsor. If you're going to click anything here, click that link. Go check out Unabated and get $30 off. Promo code SPLASH at unabated.com/NBA. All right, splash plays for the day. Again, it's moving around a little bit here because of the Warriors, guys. I still think I will stick with our broccoli-haired boy, Brandon Podziemski. I think he looks pretty good. Minutes probably going to come down a little bit from the 35-minute projection, but at 4,400, he could honestly play 25, and he would still look pretty good. So Podziemski, still going to get a good amount of guard minutes. I think he's your value, even though things are going to move around with Golden State's guys being in a little more active in the roster here than you want to see. Jared Vanderbilt, I'll also defend more now. I think he becomes a better value play from Golden State being kind of shadier value. Tari Eason, absolutely still a good value play, assuming that he starts. If he doesn't start, let's walk that back. He played over 30 minutes as a starter last time out. Good spot for him to do that again. For the pay-up options, Nikola Jokic would be one for sure. Less of a pay-up, but another center, Daniel Gafford, I would say I like a good amount. Anything else here? Anything else? Running through one more time. I think that's it. I think that's kind of the core of what I have. And yeah, Golden State's going to move around, guys, so pay attention to the show's data. Check me out in Stokastic the Deeper Dive. We'll hopefully have updated data for then, and I'll talk about that on the show, so check that out. Make sure to gamble responsibly, guys. You know, that's really important. And I say that maybe sounds sarcastic. It's not. Gamble responsibly. Most important thing you do, bankroll management. Gamble for entertainment, not for out of need. If you can, please do that. But it's always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play NBA, NFL channel at Splash Play Pod. Super Bowl video coming up tomorrow on there. I'll see you guys again soon, in particular, 5:30 on Stokastic. So enjoy your days. Good luck. And back tomorrow on this channel at 4 p.m. Bye-bye.